Most of the world's most valuable gemstones, the ones you see selling for millions of dollars at major auctions, were discovered in nature by ordinary people, just like the beautiful gem you see on your screen right now. This is the golden canary, an impressive yellow diamond valued at several million dollars. And as unbelievable as it sounds, it was discovered by a child who was simply playing near an abandoned diamond mine. But here's the sad part of the story. Before becoming this magnificent yellow diamond, the local residents, unaware of what they had, ended up selling it for far less than it was truly worth. And that's exactly why this video is so important. Until now, in hundreds of videos on this channel, we've talked only about how to find gemstones in nature. But we've never talked about what happens after you find one. And even more important, how to sell these stones the right way from a simple agate, which may not be extremely valuable, but can still bring in some money, all the way to a high-quality rough diamond that, in rare cases, can be worth a small fortune. Because when it comes to natural gemstones, it's not enough to know how to find them. You need to know what to do next, and this is where most people start to lose money. Who buys gemstones? How do you know the real price? Where can you sell without taking risks? The truth is that hardly anyone talks about this. And because of that lack of information, most people who find a gemstone in nature lose money without realizing it. Some sell way too fast. Others accept the very first offer they hear. And many end up trusting appraisers who, in reality, have no gemological training at all. But today that changes. Because after this video, you'll know exactly how to sell that beautiful stone you found on a hike and how to turn that discovery into real money without being taken advantage of. So pay close attention, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you something I've never revealed here on the channel. Something that can be the difference between selling a valuable gem for its true price or losing a small fortune simply because you didn't know what you had. When someone finds a rough gemstone, the first question is always the same. Who actually buys this? The answer involves several different types of buyers, each with their own criteria, expectations, and price ranges. Understanding these differences helps you avoid wasted time, rejection, and offers far below the real value of your stone. One of the most important buyers is the independent lapidary, also known as a gem cutter. This professional buys rough material to turn it into polished gems, which means they look for details that beginners usually miss. A lapidary examines the crystal for clarity, absence of internal fractures, growth orientation, transparency, and the amount of usable material. They pay more when they see high yield potential during cutting. A translucent crystal with few inclusions and large areas of clean material can bring a significantly higher price. On the other hand, if they find internal tension lines, structural stains, or weak color zones, the offer drops immediately. Another extremely relevant group is gem dealers, also called wholesalers or specialized buyers. They don't cut stones, they buy to resell. Because of that, they evaluate the stone based on its commercial viability. They look at market trends, demand for that specific color, rarity, size, and geological origin. An experienced dealer can estimate the resale value within minutes, whether at gem shows, to lapidaries, or to jewelry stores. In general, they pay faster, but with slimmer margins, because their profit comes from the price difference between buying and reselling. Still, for someone who wants to sell without waiting for long evaluations, a dealer is a direct and efficient option. Jewelry stores that buy rough stones form another category of buyers. But unlike lapidaries and dealers, not all jewelers accept natural rough material. Those that do are mostly interested in material purity, cutting potential, and the possibility of creating unique pieces. If the jeweler works with an in-house lapidary, they usually pay more because they control the entire process, from the rough stone to the finished jewelry. However, they are also much stricter in selection. Stones with heavy inclusions, irregular shapes, weak color zones, or excessive opacity are often rejected or purchased at very low prices. This doesn't mean your stone has no value. It simply means jewelers operate with premium standards. Then we have the major gem events and trade shows, such as the Tucson and Denver gem shows in the United States. These events gather buyers from all over the world, lapidaries, collectors, jewelers, museums, and international dealers. Even small-scale finders can sell at these shows, as long as the material is consistent, identified, and documented. At events like these, buyers value rare pieces, high-clarity material, intense colors, and crystals with strong natural form. It's common to see rough stones that would be rejected locally become highly sought after by foreign collectors willing to pay much higher prices. But attending these events requires planning, organization, and confidence in the material you're presenting, because gem shows are highly technical and competitive environments. There is also the online market, which attracts many beginners. Platforms such as eBay, Etsy, and specialized groups can lead to quick sales, but they require caution. The biggest challenge is the accuracy of photos. If the image doesn't show the real color, internal fractures, or the stone's actual luster, buyers may request returns or question authenticity. Scams are also common, especially when dealing with high-value stones. The online market works best for more common and lower-priced materials. Agates, quartz, jaspers, small tourmaline crystals, collectible specimens, and unusual minerals that are not extremely expensive. Rare stones or gem-grade materials should always be negotiated directly with professionals, never exclusively online. Each type of buyer evaluates different technical factors, but all of them look at a few essentials: color, clarity, size, natural shape, cutting potential, structural defects, geological origin, and authenticity. The clearer and more complete your presentation is, sharp photos, exact weight, host rock type, approximate hardness, estimated density, the more credibility you gain and the lower the chance of rejection. The less information you can provide, the lower the offer tends to be. And this is where the crucial point of this journey comes in. You can only negotiate well when you know exactly what you're holding. The gem type, its quality, its potential for cutting, and even its geological origin directly influence the final price. Without understanding these elements, any buyer, whether lapidary, dealer, jeweler, or collector, will have an advantage over you. That's why, before talking about price, the next step is learning how to correctly identify and classify what you found so that no one dictates the value of your stone for you. When someone finds a stone that looks different, the first instinct is to imagine how much it might be worth. But before talking about price, you need to figure out what the stone actually is. And that starts with a few simple, practical tests that anyone can do, even without professional equipment. The first test is hardness, using the Mohs scale. It's usually the starting point because it immediately eliminates a large number of minerals with no gemological value. Each mineral has a specific resistance to scratching, and that gives you a natural limit. When you try to scratch one material with another, you quickly learn which one is harder and which one is softer. If your stone scratches a regular glass, it means it has a hardness above 5.5, which already rules out calcite, fluorite, and other soft minerals that often fool beginners because of their color. If it scratches ceramic easily, you're already in the 6 to 7 range, where quartz, feldspar, and some types of garnet appear. Now, if it scratches steel with no difficulty, you've crossed the 7+ barrier, opening the possibility of higher value minerals like beryl, topaz, and even corundum, which includes rubies and sapphires. But this test must be done very carefully. In gem-quality minerals, hardness can vary slightly depending on the crystal growth direction, so the result isn't always straightforward. Topaz, for example, has high hardness, but also perfect cleavage, meaning a single wrong move can break it even though it resists scratching. Quartz, despite being hard, may contain internal fractures that expand if you apply too much pressure. That's why it's essential to use the minimum force possible, scratch only small areas, and always test on parts that won't affect the stone's appearance. Understanding hardness also helps you estimate how durable the stone will be during cutting. Lapidaries prefer materials that can withstand polishing, faceting, and constant friction without losing brilliance or chipping. This means that stones that are too hard or too soft may require specialized cutting techniques, which affects buyer interest. Another fundamental test is density, also known as specific gravity. You don't need a lab for this, just a precise scale and a cup of water. Weighing the stone in air and then underwater allows you to determine whether the material is light like quartz, medium weight like beryl, or heavier like garnet. Often, density alone eliminates 80% of the wrong possibilities, especially when the crystal has an undefined color. Next comes luster, which reveals a lot about the internal structure of the mineral. A vitreous luster, which looks like glass, appears in minerals like quartz and topaz. An adamantine luster, extremely bright, is typical of diamonds. An oily luster can indicate serpentinite and related materials. This simple observation, done under good lighting, already helps you narrow down groups of possible minerals. Transparency is another essential criterion. Translucent or transparent stones can have gemological value, while fully opaque ones tend to be better suited as collector specimens, decorative stones, or material for more rustic cutting. Transparency also reveals internal fractures, color zoning, and inclusions, all factors that influence the final value. Cleavage, which is the tendency of a stone to break along specific planes, helps identify minerals that fracture predictably, such as topaz, feldspar, and calcite. A stone with perfect cleavage can be valuable, but it's also more sensitive during cutting, which affects interest from lapidaries and jewelers. Another point many beginners overlook is the presence of associated minerals and the type of host rock. A crystal found in pegmatite, for example, increases the likelihood of being tourmaline, beryl, topaz, or related species. Crystals found in schist often indicate garnet, kyanite, or even corundum. Ultramafic rocks like serpentinite may indicate nephrite or other metamorphic silicates. Recognizing the rock surrounding the crystal is just as important as analyzing the crystal itself. You also have the advantage of using ultraviolet light. Under UV, some minerals fluoresce, emitting specific colors that help with identification. Calcite may glow red, some fluorites glow blue, certain diamonds emit strong blue fluorescence, and scheelite can glow an intense orange. Lack of fluorescence is also useful because it eliminates many potential minerals. UV light works like a mineralogical signature, and in higher value stones, it can even indicate artificial treatments intended to enhance color. With all these tests, you can separate three important categories: common stone, collector mineral, and gem-grade material. What matters for selling is the gem-grade category. Stones with good clarity, to define color, structural integrity, and real cutting potential. A translucent tourmaline with deep fractures usually doesn't qualify, but a clean tourmaline with uniform color and a well-formed crystal can be valuable even in small sizes. The same applies to sapphires, garnets, topaz, and other minerals. The point is that identifying your stone correctly isn't just about satisfying curiosity. It determines who will buy it, how much they will pay, and whether lapidaries or dealers will accept it at all. The more information you can provide, the better prepared you are to negotiate without relying on a single evaluator's opinion. And this leads to the question everyone cares about the most. Now that you have a good idea of what your stone might be, it's time to estimate its value. Because that's what everyone wants to know, right? After identifying what you have in your hands, the next step is understanding how much that stone might actually be worth. The gemstone market follows strict criteria, and the more familiar you are with those criteria, the less likely you are to accept unfair offers. The first factor is color, which includes three elements: hue, saturation, and distribution. Hue is the basic type of color: green, blue, red. Saturation is the intensity. The more vivid and clean the color, the higher the value. And distribution refers to how evenly that color appears throughout the crystal. A light green tourmaline with weak saturation has modest value, but a deep blue indicolite tourmaline with well-distributed color can multiply that value several times over. Clarity also plays a major role. Internal inclusions are common in most minerals, but their impact varies. In sapphires, for example, small inclusions may be acceptable, but in topaz or tourmaline, large internal fractures drastically reduce the price. Slightly milky sapphires with a hazy appearance are sold for much lower prices compared to transparent sapphires with clean color. The same applies to garnets. A dark, opaque, common garnet is worth very little, but a light green, fully translucent grossular garnet can reach impressive values. Size and crystal shape matter as well. Serious buyers evaluate whether the stone will yield good results during cutting. A small but clean and well-formed crystal can be worth more than a larger piece full of internal fractures. This also explains an important rule in the market. A high-quality 2-carat diamond is worth far more than two 1-carat diamonds, even though the total weight is the same. That's because large, clean, well-colored stones are extremely rare, and rarity always drives price. Another point is demand, which varies by region. In some markets, pink tourmalines sell quickly. In others, the focus is on blue sapphires. In the United States, grossular garnets and imperial topaz have active buyers. In parts of Asia, the demand for rubies and jade reaches much higher price levels. The same stone can have completely different values depending on where it's being sold. When it comes to professional evaluation, that's where the gemologist comes in. They analyze the stone using proper instruments, a refractometer, polar scope, and gemological microscope, and determine species, treatments, clarity, and cutting potential. A gemologist can also issue a certificate, which increases buyer confidence. This is only worth it when the stone has real value: clean sapphires, rare tourmalines, intensely colored beryl, gem-grade topaz, or diamonds. It's not worth certifying very common or low-value materials, since the certificate may cost more than the stone itself. Here are a few practical examples. A light green translucent tourmaline has moderate value, but a dark blue indicolite with good transparency can be worth far more, even in smaller sizes. A slightly milky sapphire loses brightness and depth, lowering its price. A uniform sapphire with no whitish zones and strong brilliance is much more desirable. Common garnets, especially very dark ones, rarely command good prices, but a clean, well-formed green grossular garnet can attract collectors and specialized jewelers. With these criteria, you can already form a realistic idea of your stone's value, whether it's a simple piece or a rare crystal. But that still doesn't guarantee you'll receive a fair price. Now imagine you found a stone similar to the ones we showed in this video. A clean crystal, a different color, maybe a level of transparency that really stands out. The question is simple: how do you turn that into money without falling for scams? To do that, the first step is to document everything. Write down where you found it, record the exact weight, the type of host rock, and all the tests you performed: hardness, density, luster, transparency, fluorescence. And take proper photos: neutral background, good lighting, multiple angles, and at least one image showing the real size next to a ruler or coin. The more information you provide, the more credibility you gain during negotiations. But even with everything documented, caution is still necessary. There are buyers who offer 10% of the real value, trying to convince beginners that the stone isn't as good as it looks. There are fake specialists who use technical language to sound trustworthy but have no gemological training. And there are opportunists who intentionally plant doubt in the seller's mind just to push the price down. The danger is real. When you don't understand the basics of geology and mineral classification, anyone with a bit more experience can take control of the negotiation. That's why knowledge becomes your strongest protection. Knowing how to tell a common mineral from a gem-grade one, recognizing a fracture that lowers the value, understanding color saturation and clarity, all of this prevents someone else from dictating the price for you. The more you understand about the stone in your hand, the less vulnerable you are to bad faith buyers. And to help you avoid these risks, the channel created the book Gemology Journey for Beginners, available on Amazon. The book goes deeper into simple tests, practical checklists, comparison photos, and reference charts that help you identify your stone, understand its potential, and sell it safely. It's a straightforward guide made for anyone who finds stones in nature and doesn't want to rely on outside opinions to know what they truly have. But if you feel it's not the right moment yet, you can subscribe to the channel and get all upcoming content for free. And speaking of that, in the next video, you'll learn how to find gemstones like diamonds, rubies, and sapphires, following geological signs and mineral indicators that many beginner prospectors overlook. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Good luck, Gem Hunter.